Good evening, everybody. Uneducated Economist here. So I thought I'd talk a little bit about lumber today. Uh, like, that would be different from any other day. Anyhow, lumber futures had a huge drop over the last week. And I mean, went from like 1,700 per thousand down to around, what, 12 something, 1260 per thousand? So we've seen like 500 per thousand come out of the futures market over the course of like a week. And that is a significant drop. I can only assume that this selling pressure is probably going to come to an end at some point. Not like a permanent end, but a temporary like pressure relief from the selling pressure. Just because like it has made it such a dramatic move. However, people are asking now the prices can come down. No, prices are not going to come down. The retail prices are probably going to stay elevated into the middle of summer sometime. And I can only say that as working a retail end of lumber, I have never seen anything quite like this. Like if you had asked me a year ago, in your wildest dreams, for $1 million, if you nail it right, what do you think the lumber price is going to be like the top? And if I was to try and win $1 million by guessing where the top was going to be, I probably would have said like $12.50 a stick for 2x4/8 standard and better. I would have said that would be by far the highest that I could ever imagine lumber ever achieving if I was, to put some money on it. Today, at the yard that I work at, we have 2x4/8 standard and better, $13.09 a stick. That is just, it blew me away. We were at 11.45 last week. It's at 13.09. And I think to myself, I remember like seeing guys come in every weekend. Like they would be working on a project or something, or building a little shop, or working on their basement, building a man cave or something. And I can imagine the guys coming in like who spent like $100 a week. Like they come in, they buy $100 worth of material on the weekend, and whatever material they could get for $100, they spent the weekend assembling that. There was a time like if you came into the yard with $100, you could get close to 52x4s. I think about how much stuff you could do with 52x4s. Not only would it be 52x4s, I would sell nails and blades, screws. There's a lot of stuff that you would need to assemble 52x4s. Now you come into the yard and you can pick up like 7 or 8 of them. Like for $100, you can pick up 7 2x4s. That's like incredible. There was a time when you would send like the laborer down, like, hey, go down and get a dozen 2x4s. We need some bracing. Now you send them down for a dozen 2x4s. That's like $150 bill or more. It's incredible. It's so unrealistically high now. And you're starting to see it show up inside of the home builders. You're starting to see the slowdown in home starts. People talk about the permits and everything. None of that really matters if they're not starting the home, if you're not building the home. So, strange times indeed. And when people ask me, when are we going to see some price relief? It's not going to happen for a while. I went down and I talked to the buyer at the yard, and I said, I went down, I'm like, holy moly, dude, have you been watching the futures? He looks at me, he goes, I don't look at that stuff. And he doesn't. The only thing he cares about is, what's the price today for the material that I have to purchase? And how much do you have? Those are the only 2 questions he really asks of the vendors or anything, right? Those are his 2 jobs. How much is it today? How much do you got? After that, nothing is important, And so, I mean, obviously you want to keep in contact with your vendors. You want to know what's coming up in short supply. But, as far as the futures price, that's inconsequential to him. He doesn't care. So I'm constantly coming to him. I was just like, hey man, the futures price is this. And he was like, well, you just keep your eye on that, all right? And, there's been times he actually thanked me. It was just like, hey man, you got to go and look at the futures price right now. It's like as much as we are selling our retail for. You better go, check the retail price on, see what our updated costs are. He's thanked me for that. I mean, the prices were moving so fast. I was just like, there's another big jump today. You better go check. Well, today I heard him, kind of laughing, back from that office. They were like, yeah, Simon, where's your futures drop today? And they were kind of joking around about, the price that they're paying for some of the material because they were checking pricing this morning and it is off the charts. I mean, off the charts. So yeah, the futures prices are coming down, but that's the July contract. The May contract closed last Friday at 15 something per thousand. Think about how much expensive wood there is out there that just closed a contract at 1,500 per thousand. That is going to leave a lot of very expensive lumber through the system until the middle of July. I do not see price dropping at all for the foreseeable 2 months, at least. The only thing that would hold that up is if there was a complete freezing of purchases. Like if everybody just stopped buying lumber altogether. And although I could say that there is a dramatic drop in the amount of sales that are happening, and you can see it with the home building starts. I mean, this is happening across the nation. I knew it was taking place too. But there's a strange thing that's kind of on the flip side of that. Even though the expense of lumber has just dramatically risen, the customers who are buying are accepting that. They know that the price is expensive and they know that they're going to be paying a lot for it. Now, my big ticket item that I do for sales is decks. That's like come this time of year, this is like my time. This is the time that I'm pushing out as much lumber as I can get out. The rest of the year, I'm chasing down special orders. I'm doing projects, windows, doors, sidings, whatever it comes up. But this type of season, this is like it. This is where I'm pushing out 3-4 deck packages a day. And I'm not getting that. I'm getting 1 package a week, 2 packages a week. The other salesmen, they're picking up a couple here and there. But the interesting thing is that we're selling the higher end decking. Like before, you would sell a lot of just treated decking, just the 2x6 treated boards. There's nothing special about it. Fairly inexpensive. Well, now the lumber prices have gone so high that they're very comparable to the composite decking. So everybody's just kind of switching over to composite decking. So here we are sitting in a position in which that the lumber prices are really expensive. The people have grown accustomed to it, and they're going up to the higher end. So, I mean, to me, I think that is like very unexpected. Like, you're always thinking about the quantity of material that you're getting out there. You're not really thinking about the customer coming in and just finally accepting the pricing and just saying, no, I want the higher end stuff. I mean, if I'm going to buy expensive lumber, forget it. I'll just go to, the price really isn't that much more to step it up into the higher end, more expensive material, because it really isn't that much more expensive nowadays. So that's kind of an interesting shift, as far as being able to do sales. Used to be like, if you got somebody to upgrade into composite, it was like, all right, man, I got them on the composite decking. That's cool. But for the most part, almost all the decking that I used to sell was just treated decking, never the composite stuff. Now, hardly ever sell any treated decking. It's almost all composite, complete shift. So that's something I wasn't really expecting. But it was funny because I was going back to those guys when they were saying, yeah, Simon, where's your lumber futures dropping now? Because they were checking the retail prices being so high. And I told them, I said, guys, that's, you're looking at the May 15th, that just closed. All this lumber is going to be super expensive. In fact, it's probably going to go up for the next couple of weeks, months, who knows, until July contract closes, or the closer we get to that July contract, we'll start seeing a little bit more about where it's going to be in the retail end of things. And I'm trying to explain this to them, and they're laughing at me. And I finally looked at them. I was like, "You want to bet? You want to bet on it by the end of summer, where lumber prices are going to be? If we keep watching these future contracts, do you want to bet me on it?" And they weren't interested in betting me on it. I'm kind of glad they didn't. But anyway, that's some of the stuff that I'm experiencing. The lumber prices are going to stay elevated for a while. There's still shortages. The buyer, we tried to get a unit of 2x610 out of Portland. Called all our different vendors who delivered to us. Nobody had one. There was not one unit of 2x6 10-foot standard and better lumber to get into our yard. We just couldn't find it. We got one in today. It was last week we were trying to get it. Today it came in. Holy moly. It was expensive. I mean, the only unit we could find was off the charts. And to be honest with you, I can't imagine how many we're going to sell at $28 a piece, but that's what we had to sell them for. In order to fill the hole in the yard of 2x6 tens, we have them retailing at $28 $28 a piece. 2x4 8s, $13.09. A 2x6 8, $19.87. Half-inch CDX, $76. And I hear that it may be closer to $90 or even $100 come next week. The prices are going to continue to rise, guys. Like, really rise. And I do not see any turning point until we get closer to that July contract and we see where that thing ends up being. Who knows? It may have a complete reversal and shoot up to new all-time highs again. We don't know. But it just really seems to me that the availability is starting to come back, even though there is, some shortages here and there. It seems to me that there's a lot more lumber out there. People are talking about there being a lot more lumber. The speed in which that, the lumber is traveling through the nation is starting to, I think, accelerate. So I can only assume that the prices are going to drop, but I can't predict the future. I don't know. But as far as retailing goes, I wouldn't expect that for a couple of months. I would not expect any retail price drops at all for at least until we start to get closer to the July expiration, which is going to be in 2 months. If we start seeing that thing just dumping out, we could see the retail prices, falling out as well. But it's going to be really difficult to tell. Anyway, yeah, that's all I have for right now. Uneducated Economist, you guys let me know.